Hello students, let us try to understand the different parameters, or we say this different terminologies with which we can refer TTL and CMOS logic, and with the help of this we are going to compare the TTL and CMOS logic. We call it as parameters. Okay, so logic families parameter. The first parameter which we will try to understand is propagation delay time. Okay, propagation delay time. So it is the time taken by the output to reach its final value as soon as the input is changed is called propagation delay time. Okay, so see, in a logic circuit what happens, the output will be either 0 or 1. But what is this 0 and 1? 0 correspond to certain voltage and 1 correspond to certain voltage. Standard values is 0 is 0 volt and 1 is 5 volt. Just take an example of an AND gate. See, an AND gate, what happens is when you give input as 0 0, the output is 0, 0 1, the output is 0, 1 0, the output is 0. But as soon as the input becomes 1 1, the output change from 0 to 1. That means it is going from 0 volt to 5 volt, right? It is moving from 0 to 5 volt. So there will be some time taken by the AND gate to reach from 0 volt to 5 volt, right? And this time is called as propagation delay time. It is the time taken by the output to reach to its final value as soon as input is changed. It is the speed with which this gate works. Okay, so that is propagation delay time. Second is power dissipation. Okay, power dissipation. See, propagation delay time, as I said, it will be the speed of or ability of the logic family to change its output as quickly as possible. So of course, for an ideal logic family, propagation delay time must be very small. That means as soon as the input changes, the output should change immediately without any delay. So propagation delay time should be as small as possible for a good logic family. Next is power dissipation. It is the power dissipated in the form of heat when current flows in the circuit. When current flows in the circuit. See, any electronic device, when you use continuously for a long duration of time, what happens is it starts heating up. That means when current flows in the circuit, some energy is lost in the form of heat. Okay, just it's very easy for you to understand. See, there are two devices. Okay, both are running on the same power for same duration of time. One is getting heated up and the other one is not that much heated up. So which one is good? Of course, the one which is not getting heated up, because here the energy loss is less. So that is what is the parameter called as power dissipation. So power dissipation is nothing but the power dissipated in the form of heat. Less is the power dissipation, more effective is your logic family. Okay, so that is power dissipation. Third one is figure of merit. Figure of merit. It is the product of propagation delay time and power dissipation. So propagation figure of merit is the product of propagation delay time and power dissipation. So it is figure of merit is called speed is equal to speed into power dissipation. Of course, for a good logic family, the power dissipation should be as small as possible. Okay, next is the fourth one called as fan in. Okay, fan in. I will give you example so that you can understand. Fan in, it is the number of gate output which can be connected to the input of one single gate. It is the number of gate output which can be connected to the input of one single gate. I will give you an example. Suppose there are these 3 AND gates, 1, 2, 3. This output of 3 gates is connected to input of one single gate. Okay, now let us say that all the outputs of this AND gate are 1, that means current is flowing. Say every output having current of 200 milliampere. Each output of this AND gate has a current of 2 milliampere. So what will be the total current flowing into the input of that one single gate? 200 plus 200 plus 200 according to Kirchhoff's current law. Total current entering into the node is equal to total current flowing away from the node. So total current will be into this AND gate, this AND gate's input will be 600 milliampere. Okay, and suppose that this AND gate can maximum withstand 500 milliampere. Okay, if that AND gate has the capability of withstanding only 500 milliampere, how much input you are giving? 600 milliampere. So what will happen to that AND gate? That AND gate will burn out, the circuit will not work, right? That means there is a limitation to how many outputs, how many gates output can be connected to the input of one single gate. To avoid damage, what we should do that while designing, we should make sure that instead of 3 output, only 2 output should be connected to the input of one AND gate. So that is a limitation or the rating of the diode, okay, or rating of the logic family. So that is what is called as fan in. It is the number of gate output which can be connected to the input of one single gate. I hope you have understood. Okay, I just gave you this example, this as an example. Okay, so if this is the circuit diagram, what you can see is here in this circuit diagram, how many gates output is connected to the single input? 3 gate output is connected to the input of one single gate. Therefore we say in this circuit the fan in is of 3 output is connected to the one input. Okay, so that is fan in. Fifth one is fan out. It is the number of gate input which can be driven by output of one single gate. Okay, so fan out is the number of gate input which can be driven by output of one single gate. Let us try to understand by a simple diagram. Let's say these are the 2 inputs for an AND gate. this is the output, and this output is then given to the input of three different gates. Okay, so now output of one gate is driving input of three gates. Again, I will give you an example. Okay, suppose the output of this AND gate has 600 milliampere. So when the current gets distributed, each gate will get 200 milliampere, right? 200 milliampere. But if this gate requires minimum of 250 milliampere to switch from 0 to 1 or 1 to 0, will this circuit work? I will repeat what I asked you. The output of this one single gate has a current of 600 milliampere. Of course, it is going to equally divide into three gates input, 200, 200, 200. That means each gate is getting 200 milliampere. But what I said is condition. I set the condition that these gates, the output gates 1, 2, 3, this will be useful, or this will be used as a switch. That means it will switch from 0 to 1 or 1 to 0 only when it gets minimum of 250 milliampere. Will this circuit works? Of course not. 200 milliampere will not be enough for the gates. So what we should do is, then there is a limitation of how many gates input should be driven by output of one single gate. So to avoid that, what we will do is, we will remove that one single gate. So one output of one gate will drive now two gates. Then enough current will be given to the gates, and the gate will work as they will switch from 0 to 1 or 1 to 0. So that rating is called as fan out rating of the logic family. So these are the few parameters on which we will do the comparison of TTL and CMOS. The next parameter is the sixth one, called as noise margin. Okay, noise margin. It is the range of voltage for which the input is considered as 0 and 1 without any error. If the range of voltage which can be considered as 0 and 1 without any error. Okay, that will be called as noise margin. I will give you an example. See, in digital circuits, the input which we are going to give, for example AND gate, the truth table is, the two input variables are A and B, and the output Y is, and Y will be A, B, Y, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. So output will be 0, 0, 0, 1. Now these are the input condition. Here the input which we are giving at 0 and 1, and 0 correspond, 0 represents certain voltage, 1 represents certain voltage. Mostly 0 will be 0 volt, 1 will be 5 volt. So what are the range of voltage which can be easily recognized by the gate and understand it as 0 and 1 will be called as noise margin. Okay, so say noise margin, so 0 volt to 0.5 volt, 4.5 volt to 5 volt. This range of voltage from 5 to 4.5 will be considered as logic 1 logic, and 0 to 0.5 is considered as logic 0 without any error. Any value between these two will be an uncertain value which may give rise to fault output. Okay, so the input when we are giving, it should be maximum within the range of 0 to 0.5 volt when you are giving 0 as input, and 4.5 volt to 5 volt when you are giving input as 1. Okay, so that is what is noise margin. And the seventh one is noise immunity. So it is the ability of logic gates to withstand noise at the input is called noise immunity. Okay, it is the ability of a logic family or a logic gate to withstand noise at the input. This will be called as noise margin. That means if this margin changes, right, the more the output will be error free, will be its ability to withstand noise at the input. So that is what is noise immunities. Okay, now we will compare the different parameters for TTL and CMOS. Now comparison of TTL and CMOS with respect to the different parameters. I have drawn a table. We will fill up the table so that we can understand which of the two logic families is better for different applications. Okay, the first one is speed of operation. Of course, TTL is much faster as compared to CMOS, so we will write more here, we will write less. That means the overall performance of the circuit designed using TTL will be much faster as compared to the CMOS. Okay, now propagation delay time, it is 4 to 12 nanoseconds. Okay, that means propagation delay time, time taken by the output to reach to its final value as soon as the input is changed. Output change होने को इनपुट चेंज होने के बाद में आउटपुट चेंज होने को जितना टाइम लगेगा, दैट इज प्रोपगेशन डिले टाइम. एंड फॉर TTL it is 4 to 12 nanoseconds, and for CMOS it is 50 nanoseconds. That means CMOS will take more time, right? That is why I have said speed of operation in case of TTL will be more as compared to CMOS. Supply voltage, TTL works at fixed supply voltage of 5 volt, whereas CMOS can work within 3 to 15 volts. It gives you the variability. Okay, so if you have a power supply of 9 volt, if you have a power supply of 5 volt or 12 volt, it will work. All the CMOS logic gates will work within that particular range. So that flexibility will be there for CMOS. Fan in, fan out 10, and here 50. That means what is fan in, fan out? The number of gates input which can be connected to the output of one single gate, or the output of one single gate which can drive number of gates input. So that is fan in and fan out. In case of TTL it is 10. That means only 10 gates input can be connected to the output of one single gate. But in case of CMOS it is 50. That means 50 gate outputs can be connected to the output of one single gate. So of course, designing wise, CMOS becomes much more easier as compared to TTL, because in TTL number of gates will be required because of the fan in and fan out. Okay, noise margin, this is very good for TTL, but CMOS is excellent. That means noise margin, ability of withstanding noise, is much better in CMOS as in case of TTL. And when you compare when you use two different types of logic families, we have to understand the compatibility. They should work with each other. So compatibility of TTL is only with DTL, and CMOS works only with TTL if it is working at 5 volt power supply. So this is the basic comparison of TTL and CMOS. And there is one more parameter which I have not mentioned properly here, is power dissipation. The power dissipation is more in case of TTL and less in case of CMOS. That means if you have if you want to design a circuit which should have less power dissipation in the form of heat, you should use CMOS logic. But cost wise, CMOS is much greater than TTL. So mostly we use TTL logic family for laboratory purpose, and for a specific application then we can go for CMOS. I hope you have understood. Hello students, the next topic which we will try to understand, the last topic of this chapter, is concept of tri-state logic. Okay, the digital circuits, all the digital circuits, or if you take one example of what we have done in TTL and CMOS, we have gone through 6 circuits: TTL NAND NOR NOT, CMOS NAND NOR NOT. All these circuits has only 2 states. The output is either 0 or 1, and that is dependent upon the input condition which has been applied. Okay, so what must be a tri-state logic? Of course you can guess, right? A circuit which has 3 states. Of course it will be 0 and 1, and the third state is called as high impedance state. Of course, when the input, when you give some logic at the input, the output can be 0 or 1, but sometimes it is necessary that the output should not change, or the output should remain 0 always, even if the input is provided to the circuit. Have you understood what I said? See, in the previous circuits, whatever we have studied, we have given input A and B, and accordingly output Y has changed. The output Y was 0 and 1, and that 0 and 1 was dependent upon the condition applied at A and B. But what I am saying now is the output should always remain 0 irrespective of whatever be the condition at A and B. That means whatever be the change at the input A and B, the output should not change. The output should always remain 0. That state in digital circuit is the third state. We call it as high impedance state, and the circuit which operates like that will have, it is called as tri-state logic circuit. Okay, so a generalized definition of concept of tri-state logic, we will say a digital circuit which has 3 output state, that is 0, 1 and high impedance state is called tri-state logic circuit. Okay, tri-state logic circuit. So that is the concept of tri-state logic circuit. So what is this high impedance state? A state where the output does not change irrespective of whatever be the input. Okay, so that state is called as high impedance state. To understand this concept of tri-state logic, we will try to understand tri-state inverter circuit. That means, of course, we will try to understand a tri-state NOT gate circuit. That means, of course, NOT gate, only one input and one output. If the input is 0, the output is 1. If the input is 1, the output is 0, right? But in a tri-state inverter circuit, there will be an high impedance state where the output will always be 0 irrespective of whatever be the input. Let us try to understand the working of such type of circuit. Okay, so I will draw the circuit diagram. It is almost exactly similar to what we have earlier drawn for TTL NAND and TTL NOT. Okay, so that will be the circuit diagram. Resistance, transistor, Q3. Between Q3 and Q4 you connect a gate, and here you will take output Y. Now in this case, Q3 is driven by one more transistor, that is Q5, and Q5 and Q4 are driven by point P and S, and point P, potential at point P and S is dependent upon transistor Q2, and Q2 is driven by a single emitter transistor Q1. Okay, Q1. Let this be logic input A. So there will be one input and one output. All this will be connected between a positive supply plus VCC and ground. Okay, now what you do is, for a tri-state logic circuit, the point P is connected through an AND gate. Point P is connected through a gate to a control input. Okay, to a control input. So now what happens is, in this circuit we have the condition as control input A and Y. See, what happens is, until the control input is 0. Control input is 0 means this terminal is connected to ground. Now you see the condition of this PN junction diode. This is the N region, this is the P region. I will call this diode as D1, I will call this diode as D2. Now what happens is, D1, when control input is grounded, D1 is forward bias. See how it is forward bias. P is already connected to point P, which is at positive potential. So P is connected to positive and N is connected to ground. The diode is forward bias. And what happens when the diode is forward bias? When the diode is forward bias, it acts as on switch. Okay, that means what happens is, the entire current will flow through this point P, through this PN junction diode to ground. And if you calculate the potential between point P and ground, what you will see, as this is an on switch, this point P gets connected to ground. So potential at this point is 0 volt. Okay, potential at S will be, of course, as this 0 volt. So potential at S will be 0 volt. Q5 and Q3 both are in cutoff region. Cutoff region means no current is flowing through the transistor. Q4 will also be in cutoff region. And now you see this output circuit. Both Q3 and Q4 is open. Open means no current will flow through the circuit. Open circuit means no current will flow through the circuit. That means at the output there will be no current. Current will be 0, and where the place where the current is 0, we say the impedance or the resistance offered by the output side is very high. So in that case, as no current is flowing through the output state, so when control input is 0, we don't care about the A condition. The output is high impedance state. High impedance means resistance at the output is very high because current is 0. Why current is 0? Because when control input is equal to 0, that means when control input is connected to ground, the diode D1 is forward biased. Therefore potential at P will be always 0 irrespective of whatever be the condition at Q2. Okay, Q2 may go to saturation region or may go to cutoff region, but irrespective of whatever be the condition at Q2, P will be always 0. And if it is 0, Q5 will be 0. Q5 is driving Q3, so Q3 will also be in 0 volt potential. That means both the transistors are in cutoff region, and also Q4 is in cutoff region. So when all the transistors of the output is in cutoff region, that means the circuit is open circuit. That means high resistance. Therefore the condition is called as high impedance state. Okay, next, as soon as you make control input equals to 1, so when control input equals to 1, that means this is positive potential. So this junction is reversed bias, so it will be open. So P cannot be connected to positive potential, or this junction is reverse bias, P cannot be connected to any other potential. So what happens is now P depends upon Q2, Q2 depends upon the base voltage of Q1, and Q1 depends upon A. So when A is 0, what you have to imagine here, you have to imagine a diode over here. So when A is 0, that means A is grounded. So N is connected to ground, P is connected to positive potential. This diode is forward bias. All the current will flow through this resistance diode to ground. So potential at this point will be 0.7 volt. If you consider it to be a silicon transistor, and if this potential is 0.7 volt, it is not enough for Q2 to conduct. So Q2 will be in cutoff region, and when Q2 is in cutoff region, that means it acts as a open circuit. When it is open, P is connected to positive, S is connected to ground. So potential at P will be plus VCC, potential at S will be 0 volt, Q5 saturation, Q3 saturation, Q4 cutoff, and the diode will be forward bias. So Y gets connected to plus VCC, so Y will be equal to 1. So when A is 0, Y is 1. Similarly, when control input is 1, A is 1. Now what happens when A is 1? That means this is plus VCC, right, or any positive potential. So the diode will be for reverse bias. When the diode is reverse bias, no current will flow through the diode. That means all the plus VCC potential will be available over here at the base of Q1. So Q1 will drive Q2 to saturation region. When Q2 is in saturation region, the transistor will be working as an on switch. When the transistor is working as an on switch, the potential at both point P and S is plus VCC. So Q5 is saturation, Q3 is saturation, Q4 will also be in saturation region. But at this point, the diode will be reverse bias. So Y gets connected through Q4 to ground. So potential at Y will be 0. So now we have a circuit. Now we have a circuit where we have three outputs, 0 and 1, and there will be a third state called as high impedance state, where the output will always be 0 irrespective of whatever be the condition at the input. That state is called as high impedance state, and the circuit which works like this is called as tri-state logic circuit. I hope you have understood.